Good night, everyone. Johnson. I got this good and got this good all the time. My name is Summer J. Give- I'm here to give you a little show news and a word on tonight. Now, we're going to be talking about the abortion and abortion pill. Now, they banned the methamphetamine, that's the abortion pill. Now, this pill um, is for women health and it also for when she get an abortion. So this pill been approved by FDA and it also been on the market for 23 years. So FDA first approved this pill. It been used for 23 years. Now, macrofidal um, is a drug that is needed for pregnancy. So this pill women been using for 23 years have been approved. So this is a pill, abortion pill that been approved with FDA. So we don't understand how why they banning it. So I request that this pill remain on the market. The abortion needs to be established. Without an abortion, will be threatened for a woman. So I want to establish the abortion pill. I mean the abortion, and not on. See, I don't believe in just doing it for nothing. Taking a child out. I'm concerned. It's when the women when the women have health issues and complications, and the baby needs to come out. Sometimes the baby dead, so they need the baby to come out, and without the baby coming out, they got to go a whole 9 months. Who knows, that's a risk for their health, so, but all these women have the right to choose, what to do with their body. So I want to establish the abortion in all the women across the nation. Because without the abortion, they're going to have complications, they're going to have life threatening, and everything else. They're trying to have this baby. So legal abortion, health care, and this abortion pill. Now, I want women to have legal abortion across the nation. I want all women to have access to the health care. Along with this process, I want all women to have access to this pill, abortion pill. Without the abortion, there will be life threat. So a woman have complication. And she needs this procedure done. So a woman, make the baby may go into the tube. So you have to handle that. The baby may be dissolved and needed procedure they come out. So if a woman get raped and she don't want to carry a baby 9 times, she has the right if she want to keep that rapist baby or she want to do it. But it was a woman's choice, and a woman do not want to experience that again. Okay, so that's my news. Now we're gonna talk about Jacob wrestling with God, and we sometimes we can catch ourselves. Right, I'm talking about myself too. We can catch ourselves wrestling with God. Genesis chapter 32, 22 to 32. So that night, see, and first of all, Jacob is preparing to meet his brother Esau. They ain't saw each other in 20 years. And the thing is, he stole his birthright, and then he stole his blessing. So that they ain't see each other since then. Because Esau wanted to kill him. So now 20 years in the past, and they prepare to see them in for a long run. So that night, Jacob got up told his two wives and two female servants and his 11 sons, go cross the ford of Jacob. So Jacob prepared to meet Esau, who hasn't seen in 20 years. He took his family. He took his whole family, because this is his twin brother. They never had met. So after he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. He sent all his possessions. So that Jacob had left alone, and a man was wrestling with him to daybreak. So Jacob was left alone. Remember, he had all his wives and all his children. He had all that with him. And so now he ain't got nobody with him. So, excuse me. So Jacob wrestled forced to Jacob, body hitting the ground. That's that, remember, they wrestling all to daybreak. Hitting the ground again and again. No matter how many times he was hitting that ground, he was still getting up. He had kept on lying down, smacked down, and gone to Jacob, so Jacob he wasn't gonna give up. I don't care how many times he hits that floor. He wasn't gonna give up. He kept on getting back up. Getting back up, jumping right back into the fight. And see, that's what I do. Don't care how many times I fall flat on that floor. I dust myself off and get right back up. And continue on fight. Continue on being in that race. You got to get up, and continue on fight. Continue on being in that race. So when the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip has been wrestling with the man. Now, see, he wrestling with this man, what he think, but also at the end, then he gonna realize he wrestling with God, and so he wrestling with God, but at some point of time, he recognized this a human being, not a spiritual being. He gonna realize the spiritual being, and he really gonna be holding on for a blessing. He ain't gonna want to let go. Jacob continued, wrestling match, all night just to be blessed. Now he was persistent even with the hip out of sight. And see, that's how I do. They were like, how she do it? How she do it? All kind of stuff can go on. One time they thought I wasn't going to show up because this and that had went on. I still show up. No matter what's going on. You got to still showing up. I was still proceeding, performing. And that's what Jacob continued on his wrestling match all night long just to get blessed. He positioned, even with his hip out, he was still moving forward with his hip out. That didn't stop him. So Jacob recognized that he is God, that he didn't want to let him go until he blessed him. And that's what it was. He was holding on so tight to God. When he realized that's a spiritual being, then he started putting two and two together. Now he done saw God face to face. And he wrestling. And when he realized who that is, a spiritual being or whatever, he held on to that too, the hand of that person real tight. And he refused to let go. He know that was God. I'm not going to let go until you bless me. His hip and everything was out. He still was himping around. He still was trying to put the blind together. And so the man asked him, What is your name? Now it take a bold person to be wrestling with a man, especially when you see he was a spiritual being. He wrestling and he holding so tight and he don't want to let go. The man said, "What's your name?" You got to be bold to keep on holding on and wrestling with me from daybreak. The man said, "What's your name?" So then the man had said, "Your name." Will no longer be Jacob. So the man asked him what your name is, which is God. Now he telling him it's not gonna be Jacob. It's not gonna be Jacob. He said, for now on, it's gonna be Israel. But he's still gonna be using Jacob. He's still gonna be using Jacob. Blessing, constitution, the changing of his name were from Jacob. you know, and that you're gonna have the Israelite, so he got some of that from that. I have, the name, and so Jacob had said, please tell me your name. Now the man asked him what's his name. Now he turned around talking about what's your name? But he replied, why do you wanna ask me my name? And so then he blessed him, because he said he wasn't going to let go. I'm holding you tight, and I don't want to let you go. And so he asked the man, what is your name? Did not tell him, but still bless him. Now, God didn't tell him what's his name, but God still bless him. God tell him what his name is because he want to ask question what question. Now so Jacob had called the place Peniel, saying it is because I saw God, face to face, and yet my life was a pair. Now he's saying he saw God face to face, and so Jacob certainly recognized his situation is unique. Now which is unique, which is why he chosen this particular name for the site. The sun rose above, and he passed, and when he was limping because of his hate, his hip, and so Jacob will remember. He will remember this day that he was wrestling with that man. You know how? Because he walked with due to a hip out of socket. He walked with a limp. So he gonna remember. He gonna remember that fight, that wrestling, from all to break daybreak. So therefore to this day the Israelites do not eat attachment unto the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob hip was touched near the tensor. They don't eat that part of the meat because Jacob told them, God touched his tensor. It was osmo to his tensor. And so he walked for the rest of his life with that. So that means he gonna always remember that wrestle. And they don't eat that part of the meat, because it's been taken out of Jacob. Jacob been hit close to that tensor. And so the Israelites do not eat the sensor of the hip, which is upon the hollow, the thigh. It's right close to the thigh, because he would touch, of the hollow of Jacob's thigh on the center of the hip. Now God touched the hip. See, God know all parts of our body. All parts of the animal. He made the animal too. Remember, he had animals to name all the animals. So God knew what a tensor had. So he didn't touch him on the tensor. He touched near the tensor. Because God knew all the parts of our body. So God knew where to hit it at. you know, no would have hit it at, because he would have hit on the sensor. He would have been in a wheelchair. You know, they ain't had that back then. He won't be able to walk. So after sending his family away, remember he had all his children, he had his wives, and so he was preparing to go meet Esau that he haven't seen in 20 years. And then his servant, all his family, he just sent them away, into a little while. I guess he was gonna try to take a nap. And so in the meantime, while he was by himself, that's when he see this man. Now I don't know how they just start to wrestle, but it just started to wrestle. All to daybreak. He wrestling with this man. And he encountered a man who changed his name. Now his posture and his life. Israel, who will bear his name as well as his struggle with God. So it means something. Israel, mean you struggle with God. And so that's the news. That's the word on tonight. Jacob had struggled with God. At the beginning, he didn't know he was struggling with God. He just was calling the man. But then he realized that was just a spiritual being. He had to be clinging on tight, And he realized he wrestling with a spiritual being, He holding on tight for a blessing. It was all about the blessing. And so Jacob was holding on so tight. And Jacob said, I'm not going to let go until you bless me. He got blessed. His name got changed. Sometimes you going to walk away from your stone with scars. I said that the other day. He walking away with that hip. We all going to have some kind of scar. Losses, or whatever the case is. It can be physical scar, mental scar, losses. You're going to walk away with something. He walked away with something, but he made sure he hold on until he got his blessing. So he got his blessing, and he was meeting his brother, from 20 years ago. Because see, his brother wanted to kill him after what he did. So he wanted to take a rest. He sent his wife, children, everybody away. And before he could take a nap, this man came. And they just started wrestling. Because see, remember, God had met him, I don't know, every time Jacob goes somewhere, he wants to take a nap. See, the last time he was taking a nap, he saw a ladder coming down from heaven. And so that's when God was telling him about his plan then. He was supposed to get his done when he was kind of younger then. And so that's when God saw him. That's when he started wrestling with him, because I gave you a job to do. But so he and got so old, so his children had to do it. God always had backup plan. He had Joseph, his son, his favorite son, and give him tools and had that job done. And so he put that spirit in his brothers, to be jealous on purpose, to put Joseph in a position. So Jacob wrestled with God, and he held on tight until he blessed him. And then when he kept on falling down, God saw how he just kept on falling down. And he got right back up and was still in the race. Still wants to hold on and still want to fight. So God said, what's your name? It takes somebody bold to fight me. And he was holding on. Throw him down. He fell down flat on the floor. He'll get back up. And was in the race again. And see, that's how I do. I don't stay down too long. I get back up. I'll keep showing up, showing up. I thought you weren't coming to this and that. Oh no, I'm here. And that's what you got to do. You know, Jacob kept falling down and he kept getting back up. He kept getting back in a race, in that wrestling match. And he kept on holding on. And he meant, he was going to wear God out. He was not going to let go. And that's when God had to wear him out. God had to stop him. God had to stop him. And he still was trying to fight. Still was trying to fight with that limp. Until he came to, that's when God said, what's your name? What's your name? So that's all. And we talked about the abortion pill. The abortion pill is for pregnancy, and they also use it for the abortion. So this pill had been on the market for 23 years. And FDA approved it. So why take it off the market if it had been approved? And so we talked about the abortion. It needs to be established. It needs to be established because not only just to get rid of children, but when a poor person get raped, she don't want to carry that rapist baby, or the woman baby die in her. She wants that baby to come out. In a complication, you have to come out. But if you bang the abortion, then they have to go a whole 9 months with a dead baby in them. And so that's all I have for today. Try to establish this abortion for all women across the nation, and this abortion pills that been approved by FDA for 20 years, 23 years. And we talk about Jacob. He held on to God, and to God bless him. He refused to let go. He fell down and got back up and was in the race again, holding on. God hit that hip. He had that hip and still was fighting and holding on. Jacob was just so strong. He was just so bold. And so God had to say, what's your name is? What's your name is? So that's all I have for you today. Y'all have a nice day, and I'll see y'all in the next video.